feel like Gordon Bombay would have taken his career to even further heights.
Everything's flashy, everything's cocaine, everything's
Fun.
Open wide for some soccer!
I don't care what your personal thoughts are at home. I care that you hate the Cowboys.
Call this college rules!
Welcome back to the Sports Experience Podcast, everybody. Dom and Chris here. And before we begin, always make sure you like, follow, share, and subscribe to all our videos after watching and listening to them. Really helps us bump up in the algorithm. So if you could do that for us, do it as a huge solid. That'd be much appreciated. And Chris, we're in the middle of a block.
We are talking about gentlemen from the Negro Leagues that really didn't get their due in that time. And we're talking about a guy who pitched so long and for so many years, it just doesn't make sense. We're talking Satchel Paige today.
Satchel Paige, everybody. Leroy Robert Page, born, I don't know. The first of our I don't knows.
Okay, well, and then I guess, who was it? The Bill Veeck.
Bill Veeck, Disco Demolition Bill Veeck.
Went to his hometown in 48 and went to the hospital and got his birth certificate.
I did see that, yeah.
Which is just so funny because for literally for the first 50 years of his life or whatever, 45, people were like, I don't know, he was born in 1900 or maybe 1908 or maybe 1904. They had no idea.
He had like a McLovin ID. How
Yes.
old are you, Satchel? Old enough to party.
So he was born July 7th, 1906. But throughout, and this is, they found that out at like the end of his career when he started playing for MLB. So out his entire literal playing career, they were like, we don't know how old he is.
Chris Hansen would have had a field day with this guy.
Oh my God.
I don't know if I should ask you to take a seat.
Yeah.
But his actual original last name was Page, not Paige.
Yeah, and his family changed it in the 1920s because they too associated with the word page.
Yeah, no, to seem more sophisticated in that way. Mom Lula was a washerwoman. Dad John was a gardener. 7th of 12 kids.
Yep.
Growing up there in Mobile, Alabama, and not a lot of money, could barely even afford shoes.
Yes, so he definitely grew up very poor, and there's just so many different stories. For one thing, one of the stories that how he got his nickname was he stole one of his friend's satchels. So they just started calling him Satchel. There's a couple of other stories where he got that nickname, but he grew up really, really rough.
Really rough. He cashed in empty bottles for extra money, worked at the L&N train station, shining shoes, as you said, carrying bags. Basically, just a very terrible upbringing, but loved not even baseball, but a game called Top Ball.
Yes, which is baseball but played with bottle caps and sticks.
Which is essentially like Sammy Sosa style baseball in the DR in the 60s and 70s.
Well, think about actually being accurate with bottle caps. You know what I mean?
I know,
like
right?
That was what I was thinking because throughout his career, they're like, he lost his fastball, still one of the most accurate pitchers ever. I imagine that really helped him chucking bottle caps to make him strikes.
Oh, just the ball movement alone.
I know.
I mean, speed is not the name of the game.
No,
sometimes.
that's what's weird about with Satchel.
But runs into a little trouble. Has some perhaps sticky fingers, which is one of the reasons we brought up his nickname.
And they said the only report that I saw is that he got busted multiple times for theft.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like he got busted once and they were like, send that kid. No. He was like, by the age of 12, he got busted so many times that they actually sent him to the Alabama Reform for Negro juveniles. And every single time I say this, it just sounds wrong coming out of my
I feel
mouth.
like when the person who invented this looked like Cartman going to see you. Because if you have to say it, you have to be Alabama Reform School for Juvenile Negro Lawbreakers.
What's crazy is he was 12 years old. He got sentenced to 6 years, and they said that was the max they could sentence him to at least until he turned 18. So that's literally what they did. They were like, we just want to sentence you until we're not allowed to anymore. And you're just like, Jesus.
Oh, early 20th century Alabama.
God.
So sentenced on July 24th, 1918. While he was there, though, my God, if he learned something, this was his California Penal League.
This is my favorite quote because he said when he went there, one of the I don't know if it was like a priest or like a headmaster or
Reverend Moses
Reverend,
Davis.
that's
Yeah.
what it was. Taught him how to pitch. So like he was obviously into the whatever you want to call that form of baseball with bottle caps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at this freaking guy.
Yeah, so he was into it, and this guy taught him how to pitch. And when he got out, he said, I traded 5 years of my freedom to learn how to pitch, which is just, that would have sucked if he went and became just like a union worker or whatever. You know, well, I mean, but you know what I mean? Like, but he then becomes the best pitcher in all of Negro Leagues for like 50 years.
That should have been the title of his biography, 5 Years a Pitcher.
Oh my God, that's so good.
Like, honestly. His coach basically said he was 6 foot tall, though, and 140 pounds.
Yes.
So I don't know if malnourished is the right way, but he needed more weight.
Rail thin.
Rail thin.
Yes.
This coach taught him the high leg kick and his patented arms all the way behind the back wind up.
Yep.
And one of the things that he really did well was he pitched from all sorts of different arm angles. So it's not, I mean, granted, at this juncture of his life, his fastball is straight gas. You're not even touching it. But the breaking stuff is just devastating in comparison.
And coming out of different positions, and like they said that he was a guy that just like had so many different pitches throughout his career.
Oh, yeah.
It was almost like every 5 years it's a different pitcher.
If you're his catcher, you're just like, I don't got enough fingers.
No.
I don't got enough fingers. Just throw me whatever and pray for it. He played semi-pro ball for the Mobile Tigers. He in a game against the Down the Bay Boys, it was 1-0. The bases were loaded in the ninth. His team committed 3 straight errors, and then he just said, screw it, I'll do it myself, and struck the last guy out. Which is ridiculous.
So he definitely showed his talent right away because obviously he couldn't play semi-pro when he was put away. And then
No.
as soon as he got out, they were just like, oh, this guy could like really pitch.
What the hell league you been playing in? Alabama Penal.
Yep.
How'd you end up playing there? Stole some shit.
Stole a satchel. Oh, man.
So, anyway, in 1926, Alex Herman, I believe, player-manager for the Chattanooga White Sox,
Yep.
signs him for $250 a month and gives his mom $200 to sign with them. And by 1927, he sold to the Birmingham Black Barons, who Michael Jordan played for before he joined fought the Monstars.
That's true. That's very true.
And he late in June, he basically joined the St. Louis Stars. And he he had an incredible season, finished 7-1 with 69 strikeouts, 89 innings pitched. He's still in his early 20s.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But as he's moving through, I mean, like, he just keeps developing, and you're thinking, God, if Major League Baseball didn't have an agreement, he could have been on any team.
Yes.
Could have been on any team in the league. In 1928, he goes 12-5. In 1929, he has 176 strikeouts, and in a game on April 29th that year, 17 strikeouts in a game, and then later that year has 18 against, I believe, the elite Giants, which MLB guys weren't even doing that at that point.
I was going to say he has the all-time record for strikeouts in Negro League from this year, and then this is why it's so ridiculous. Is people are still like, well, I mean, he had a lot. We just don't know. We don't know how much exactly. There was like 3 or 4 games where we just took an average, and you're just like, well, all right, well, that's
What if it was more though? Like, what if that was just the actual average?
Yeah, that's what they said. They just don't know exactly. They were like, it's up there. It's 175-ish.
It's in the neighborhood. It's in the ballpark.
It's in the ballpark, man.
In 1929, he also plays in Cuba and does not have a very good time. I don't know if you read anything about that.
I heard multiple stories as to why he got just up and left.
left.
Yeah, some of them had to do with maybe a young girl or two. Some of them had to do with the mayor pointing a gun at him.
just. Oh God.
There's so many different stories, and he himself tells different stories for these. But one thing was for sure, them leaving Cuba came at like the drop of a hat. It was like right after a game, they were like, we're getting the next plane out of here.
I mean, they could have. I mean, if from the sound of it, they probably would have swum if that was the only option.
Yes, exactly.
Spring of 1930, he's with the Baltimore Black Sox, not really fitting in, and then goes
No,
back.
because it's a northern team, and they considered him a hick or whatever.
Yeah, from the country. Goes back to Birmingham to go 7-4. And then, because as we talked about in our Josh Gibson one, you're kind of just on loan throughout the whole league at this point.
And owners even did that where they were like, did you guys want him for a month?
Yeah.
And you're just like, I guess.
Someone went to the penitentiary. We need an outfielder.
Yes, it's literally like that.
In spring of 1931, he joins the Cleveland Cubs. Did not make him very happy because, as we brought up in our Gibson episode, he's playing in a big league ballpark that he should be playing in Major League Baseball.
Yes.
And that kind of rubbed him the wrong way. In June of 1931, Gus Greenlee, who we also talked about, signs for $250 a month for the Crawford-colored Giants, which, okay.
And they reside in Pittsburgh, and at this time, they're actually not in the Negro League.
No, they're like a minor league kind of, operation.
Which is interesting. I have to say, it's, like you're just like, okay, I guess that makes sense. And then what I always thought was interesting was every single winter they played winter ball in California.
Yeah, because California didn't have Major League Baseball teams.
Exactly. But they had winter ball, and this was when the integration really first started, they would have white minor league players playing against these guys. And they said that Satchel played 9 consecutive years there.
Which is like, how many innings is that man's arm logging?
That's the other, like, we talk about him because I'm pretty sure, I think he played for 25 years or something like that.
Yeah.
He played throughout every offseason.
Yeah.
Every single offseason, he was playing in California or Mexico or Cuba or the Dominican Republic. It's ridiculous to think how many innings this guy pitched.
What wows me, though, is, like, he wasn't doing that necessarily. I mean, you have to love baseball to do it, but you also need money.
Yes.
And that's really the only thing you can do to make money.
Yep.
So in 1932, he's on the Pittsburgh Crawfords team with Josh Gibson, Oscar Charleston, a man named Double Duty Radcliffe.
Oh,
which,
I saw
if that's
that.
not a porno name, I don't know what is.
Old Double Dude.
Double Dude. 2 for the price of 1.
That's
what?
right.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Threw his first no-hitter that July.
Yeah.
Goes 10-4 that year with 92 strikeouts and 132 2/3 innings pitched. In 1933, they're in the new Negro National League.
Yep.
But in August, he kind of makes Greenlee, I believe, very angry by going to North Dakota to play for the Bismarcks.
This is what I mean.
And this is the integrated league.
Yes. And it was for 1 month. They gave him $400 and a car.
Yeah.
Like a not new car.
No. Oh, no. We're not talking about a brand new Cadillac. We're talking about, oh, God, what is that?
Yes. So, and then when he came back, his team was very pissed off. Mm-hmm. And I saw something where he was just like, I'm playing right now. Like, I love baseball, but I'm playing to put food on the table. So to get paid that extra money, he was like, I'm going to take that. And then
you take gigs wherever you can get them, Chris. It's just like comedy.
Yep.
Some places you don't want to go, but you go and you end up having a good time.
Like North Dakota.
Like North Dakota, exactly. 1934. This is when he's really entering his prime, which is strange because it's like, holy shit, this is kind of how you could tell why he had such longevity. 14-2 with a 2.16 ERA. Threw his second no-hitter that year on July 4th against Homesteads. Only 2 base runners, an error and a walk, which could have been a perfect game.
Could have been a perfect game.
What was it? Satchel Paige said to Buck O'Neill in that game, you may as well throw them all out because he was saying he was scuffing the ball.
Yeah.
Because there was so much break on it. He said, you may as well throw them all out because they're going to always be jumping like that.
He had 144 strikeouts to 26 walks, which his strikeout to walk ratio is insane.
What I can't figure out is, what do you do if you go up and hit against him? Do you just bunt?
Yeah, pretty much.
Honestly, maybe if you're Josh Gibson, you try and swing for the fences.
But other than that, yeah.
That year, the Denver Post had their Little World Series.
Mm-hmm.
So he played on the Colored House of David team, and we've brought this up on the podcast. Why, Chris?
Oh, I don't remember. Why did we bring up the Colored House of David?
Because their manager was Grover Cleveland Alexander.
Jesus, I forgot
and
about that.
And he's about 12 shots deep
my God.
in the bottom of the first.
Oh, just a Jimmy Dugan out there.
Just looked like a penis with a little hat on.
Yes, exactly.
They played the Kansas City Monarchs in the title game that year.
Yep.
12 strikeouts.
Mm-hmm.
12 strikeouts, which, my God. That year in the 34 All-Star game, he pitched against Sam Jones and the Philadelphia Stars. He drove all night from Pittsburgh to Yankee Stadium for this game. He parked near the stadium in the Bronx and fell asleep in the car. The Bat Boy found him.
This is, yeah.
There's no luxury like airline or even the Indians bus in Major League. This is terrible.
Well, they said that I watched something on just Negro Leagues, and they were saying that if you got 2 people to a twin bed, you are lucky. So they were literally sleeping 3 to a bed, and then you would luck out and just get 1 other person, which is, yeah.
I mean, it's a good way to keep warm, but not like sleep.
No.
I don't even think prisons do that.
No.
So it was pitched 2 games. The first one was a 1-1 tie called because of darkness, and then 3-1. In the Cal Winter League that year, he faced Dizzy Dean, who was talking some shit about him.
Yep.
Hall of Fame pitcher for the Cardinals. City didn't have a curveball, and oh boy, did Satchel Paige have a curveball.
He almost had like every pitch.
Yeah, that
was something that I found ridiculous. Was people were saying like, oh, he can't throw this, and then the next day he would come out and be like, you mean that pitch? I just don't care to throw it. And you're like, God damn.
I don't know. Today feels more like a slider type of day.
Yes, exactly.
Beat him 4-1 with 13 strikeouts. He had 18 strikeouts in Los Angeles. God. Bill Veeck referred to that as the greatest pitcher's battle he had ever seen, which probably got to be up there, I would say. Goes to play in Bismarck in 35.
And dominates.
Good Lord, bring these up, Chris.
They said the league or whatever in Bismarck was like really below the one that the Crawford was kind of playing it, because this is right before the Negro League or no, this is right after it gets built, and like he went 29-2 with 321 strikeouts, and they were talking about, they were just like the level of competition wasn't there, but he was in his prime. They also banned him from the Negro League for that year for actually playing.
Which is ridiculous. Wouldn't you want your biggest star to play if you want to?
Because he started the first half of the Negro League playing for Bismarck, and then they finished their league. So he was like, all right, I'll come back to Pittsburgh. And they were like, or whatever, Crawford. And they were like, no, you're banned for the rest of the year. And he was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go barnstorming.
You can't ban me. I'm just going to play more baseball.
Yeah.
300. This is what I saw. 321 walks to 16 bases on balls.
Yeah.
That's otherworldly.
It really is.
I don't care what
competition or that's
I mean, if you're playing against children, that's one thing. Like when Kramer did karate.
Oh, that's so true.
Oh God. 36. Has the Satchel Paige All-Stars.
Yeah, so he's barnstorming at this point, just kind of going around traveling on his name.
And he's playing some major leaguers and semi-pro guys. Joe DiMaggio is in this California type of league.
And Jolton Joe went 1 for 4 off of him and said something like, yeah, he's probably one of the pitchers with the most control I've ever came up against.
Well, that's the thing. Unlike a lot of things, Chris, it's not about speed, it's about control.
It's about control. Man.
Control. That sounds like something Dennis Reynolds would totally say.
Oh my God.
It's not control, it's about getting inside the batter's mind.
It's the pitcher and it's the pitch's implication. because you don't. They think it's going to be the implication is it's going to be a fastball, and then it just breaks.
Satchel, are you going to hurt these hitters?
No. It's the implication.
Don't worry, third string utility infielder. You're not in any real danger. Apparently, a Yankees scout saw DiMaggio face Paige, and he just said, "DiMaggio's everything we'd hoped he'd be. It's Satchel, 1 for 4."
Yes.
When 1 for 4 is good,
It's good.
against the Yankee. I mean, granted, this is before he was like.
No, this was I think this was the year before they brought him up.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy. 36 though, he's back in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
They said we need you back, Satchel. Now making a cool $600 a month. He goes 5-0 over that span, and then he plays in Denver again for the All-Star team. I saw that he also played some semi-pro ball this year in Texas.
Yeah. So he's literally just bouncing around to whoever's playing that month. You know?
Oh, yeah. Could you imagine if he pitched now? Like his reaction to like pitching coaches?
Oh.
That's about 80 pitches. We're going to need to take you out. Oh, God. Now we get to 37 in the Dominican Republic. And
this is a weird...
Oh, boy.
So... I think they see him in Chicago or somewhere.
Yeah.
And the guy from Dominican Republic, I'm pretty sure it was the dictator, maybe?
Yeah, it was the dictator.
Literally.
Trujillo.
Yeah, Trujillo was like, I will give you $30,000 if you can get other Negro stars to come and play in our league for 1 year, you know what I mean, for this team.
Yeah.
And... man, did he do it.
He got them all. It's like he caught all the Negro League Pokemon. Because he's got like Josh Gibson and Cool Papa Bell. But they're not winning by enough for him.
Yes. And he said as soon as they got there, they were under armed guard because they said that, there was such fanfare. And all the guys were just like...
fanfare.
Yes. They were like, for the first couple of days, we were like, oh, man, we need this. And they were like, oh, no, they're kidnapping us essentially, and there were some wild looks when they would lose a game.
What was it? Liam Neeson didn't exist at that point, so you're on your own, guys.
You're on your own.
You're on your own, fellas. They do end up winning the championship,
luckily,
which is good because I'm pretty sure if they didn't, we might not have heard about Satchel Paige or any of these players again.
They said for the last championship game, they had all of their guards standing there, and Satchel was like, it looked like a firing squad was gearing up. Like, are we going to have to take these boys out? I don't know.
It's the Hugh Honey Vic Vinegar mode of motivation.
Oh, my God. Got that vinegar boiling up in you.
God. But, Chris, it was a binding verbal contract.
That's right.
That they signed. 1938, he's in the Mexican League, playing in Mexico City. $2,000 a month, which is pretty good. The Negro Leagues ban him again.
Yes.
Because
I mean, they're pretty much saying, like, you can't go and play for these other leagues and the biggest thing was taking a bunch of players to the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
They were like, that's ridiculous.
Which I could see that pissing them off because
Yes.
it's like, if you go, okay, but don't take all of the rest of the marketable stars that we have.
Yes, exactly.
Scary incident, though, down there in the Mexican League. Could have actually ended his career. I don't know if you saw this. He injured his pitching arm.
Yeah.
Injured his pitching arm, and most thought he'd never pitch again. And this is when he learns, oh, I don't have to just get by with gas.
Because he loses his fastball.
Yeah.
Like, he still has a fastball, but I think because, and everybody said this, he just threw that much harder than everybody else in this era that now 39 going forward, he kind of throws at the same speed and is like, oh, I really have to get into this control, which he always had, but this is when he becomes more of like a Maddox style pitcher.
You go from Smoltz to Maddox.
Yep,
essentially.
Seriously.
Buck O'Neil had said by that September in 39, he's playing with Kansas City, that he wasn't throwing as hard, but he was still throwing at least 90.
Yes.
Which is still,
for the era,
pretty hard.
Yeah.
October 39, he goes to Puerto Rico and plays for a team called the Witch Doctors.
Right, which I love.
He walked off the mound after he saw a ghost, but pretty much just slippy-fisted the league there. 19-3, a sub-2 ERA. 208 strikeouts in 205 innings, and they win the World Series. And he apparently lost his fastball. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. 1940, now he's back in the Negro Leagues.
They let him back in, and I think this is the team that a lot of people associate with Satchel. Is he joins the Kansas City Monarchs, and with a bunch of other great Negro League players.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing about this Kansas City team, and then it kind of gets disrupted with World War II, and yeah.
Yep. I mean, he's kind of... But this is when it's like, wow, he could have been the best pitcher in the Major League Baseball.
And he's been pitching for 20 years at this point.
I'm surprised they didn't do that during... I mean, I'm not surprised, but like during the Second World War, it's like, we need guys. There's some guys who might want to play, but nope. 1941, opening day against the New York Black Yankees, 20,000 people.
Yep.
Because that was, I think, the biggest reason they brought him back was people want to watch him.
Yes. His name was a draw.
We need money.
Yeah.
20 strikeouts in a complete game, 5-3 win, or 8 strikeouts. I saw 20K.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
he struck out 20? Jesus.
I believe
Randy
it.
Johnson.
I believe it.
Could have been 20. So, they win the 1941 Negro American League title, and he's an all-star. 1942 in April, they face a team led by Dizzy Dean again over there at Wrigley Field, and it was the first time a black team had ever played at Wrigley.
Yeah.
Which is kind of wild to think about. Beats him 3-1, and then on May 31st with the Grays, they're at Griffith Stadium in Washington D.C. Wins 8-1, strikes out 7 in 5 innings pitched. I mean, he's what now? 36? 35 years old?
Without an off season?
Has he ever had an off season?
No, he's never had an off season. He's played every single season, every single minute.
Oh my God. And mind you, these aren't 5-guy rotations either that he's in. He's pitching almost every damn day.
Yeah.
In the night, talk about the 42 Negro League World Series. It's Washington. They're playing Washington / Homestead because they apparently play in a couple of different cities. Starton wins game 1. Game 2, he strikes out Josh Gibson on 3 pitches with the bases loaded in the bottom of the 7th. Gets 3 guys out in the 8th, and then they end up winning 8-4, which is crazy to think. And then he starts game 3.
I was just going to say, so they sweep Washington, whatever.
Even
they
with
sweep
the contested game.
Yeah, and he literally pitched in all 4 games. He brought him. If he wasn't starting, they brought him on as a relief pitcher. That's how much he pitched. And everybody said he had this like rubber arm where they said, "Hey, you're pitching." He wouldn't even need to warm up. He would just shake his arm out, and then he would be ready. And you're just like, that's not natural.
Was there a witch doctor on the witch doctor team? I don't know.
Possibly.
I'll start again in 43. That year, he even hit a double in the All-Star. So barely
which is hilarious.
You can play both ways. Ridiculous. Shohei Ohtani got nothing on Satchel Paige.
That's right.
44 again, an All-Star. They said the players would go on strike if they didn't give the receipts to the war effort that was going on. Like, that had to be unbelievable. It's like, for them, I mean, when you think about it, it's not like Major League Baseball was that fucking popular.
No, and then they turned it against him because they released how much he was getting paid as opposed to everybody else.
Which is unfortunate.
Which he was getting paid $600, everybody else was getting paid $50 or something, and he was just like, "No, that's fine, but they're making like $30,000. Can we not get this donated? Like, this is not the level of money that we're talking."
46, he gets back on track. They win the pennant. He leads the league in ERA, and they play the Newark Eagles in the World Series.
All right, now this is a weird one.
This is a very weird one.
So he starts 2 games. He starts 1-4. And then Game 7 comes around, so it's tied 3-3. Game 7 comes around, and he was supposed to start. That was the rumor. and he just literally went missing. And what they thought was he was talking with the guy, like his manager, that he does barnstorming, like traveling the countries with teams for his off season, and they were meeting with him, and he just decided to not go to Game 7, which he never confirmed or denied or anything about what happened. The only thing the Grays were saying was they were just like, well, he wasn't there. So, I mean, we don't know. He just wasn't there.
We're looking at his time card, and he didn't clock in.
And they proceed to lose.
Yep, they lost.
So
to what's his name? Larry Doby's
Larry
New York
Dobes.
Eagles.
Yep.
Before he got his chance in big league baseball. But this barnstorming effort actually proved to be successful,
lucrative,
because he's doing it with future Hall of Famer and a guy I met when I was 5, Bob Feller.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
They were going to use planes, which is smart, because if you use helicopters, I don't know what happens.
It's true.
I mean, we don't know. 8/24. What'd you do? What'd you do? But so they're using airplanes and barnstorming across the country and bringing baseball to the masses, which is huge for the game.
Yes.
Because you have Major League Baseball's one of their most marketable stars, and you have the Negro League's most marketable stars.
And they're bringing baseball to places that didn't have baseball, which, I mean, they might have had a game on the radio a week, but it's so different than...
Yeah, like maybe on Sunday night you can put up the antenna and
yeah.
Whomever.
Exactly.
But 35 games, 31 cities, 17 states, 27 days.
Isn't that insane?
And Paige and Feller pitched against each other almost every time.
Yeah.
And pretty competitive, pretty back and forth. And it's not like the Major League Baseball players that they were bringing were like crappy.
No,
or average players.
Yeah.
Phil Rizzuto, Bob Lemon, Johnny Sane, and then Buck O'Neill and Nick Stanley from the Negro. So, I mean, like, it's good that they were bringing competitive baseball, and I think it also probably helped that they probably knew, okay, MLB is going to integrate next year.
Yep.
So that's a tremendous mark. I mean, I would say he probably made more money off of this than... No, excluding that stint in the Dominican.
Yeah, but this was where he made a majority of his money, which he always was very poor. So was like everybody in the Negro Leagues pretty much. But he was also getting paid the most and was still poor.
Yeah, which is very sad.
Yeah.
Very sad for all athletes of this era. But in 1948...
It happened.
Unlike Josh Gibson, he took care of himself a little bit better. And it paid off, that the owner was someone who had already integrated the team the year before. So July 7th, 1948, signs for $40,000 with the Cleveland Indians.
Pretty nice.
They got uniforms and everything, Chris.
Yeah.
He's the first black pitcher in Major League Baseball history and the 7th black player overall in Major League Baseball history. And 2 days later, he's the oldest man to ever make his debut in Major League Baseball. Did you read that quote he had?
No, give it to me.
No. If someone asked you how old you were and you didn't know your age, how old would you think you were? Age is just a number.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, because they're probably like, he could be 60.
Yeah, that was the joke that later in his career, they would bring rocking chairs out for him to sit in the bullpen because they joked about how old he could be.
Yeah, right.
You know, you're just like, well, I mean, yeah.
I mean, they found the birth certificate.
Yes. Which would make him 43 at this point, or 42, just to be clear.
They enters the game down to 4-1 in the bottom of the 4th against the St. Louis Browns. Catcher doesn't even know the signs, but goes 2 innings pitched and gets his first win on July 15th of 48. And this is kind of important. Not only is he a draw, but the Indians are winning baseball games in 1948. They even banned his hesitation pitch. Did you see that?
Oh, yes, I did see that because it just looked like it came out of his elbow from nowhere.
He basically told the AL president, I guess he didn't want me to show up all his boys.
Yep, I love that. He went 6-1 for that season and had an ERA of 2.48. So, like, he really was still great at 42. It's interesting to see him just be such a great pitcher throughout his whole career.
And
even when they finally let him in.
And I think the most important part is, even though he's like not in his prime,
yes,
he is a draw everywhere they go, and he's scheduled to pitch.
Yep.
I saw something like over 72,000 people went to Comiskey Park for his debut, and it wasn't Disco Demolition Night.
That's crazy.
They just came to watch him pitch.
Yeah.
Complete game shutout, 5-0 win. Then the Indians are so good, they make the World Series. He even pitches 2/3 of an inning in the World Series in Game 5, which is awesome because they win, and that was the last time they ever won a World Series.
They really didn't use him in the World Series, though, which is kind of interesting. He didn't. I don't know if he was like dropping off at that point, but yeah.
This is how long ago this was. They played the Braves. The Boston Braves.
Boston, yes.
Boston, that was 2 cities ago. I feel like we're going to talk about the A's like that in like another 30 years.
Yep. What do you mean Oakland?
Oakland. They were just in San Antonio 3 years ago. So in let's see, here we go. 1949. Only goes 4-7, and Bill Veeck has to sell the team because of a divorce, and he was his strongest proponent.
Yes. So new ownership comes in, and they're like, "We don't really like your age." No, it's not your color; it's your age.
If there was an HR department, they'd be like, "Age discrimination. We don't even know how old he is."
That's true.
Like,
this is where I found it sad. So Indians release him. And then it literally says he's penniless at this point.
Oh, yeah.
So he signs his biggest contract, and that's still not enough. So he has to go back to barnstorming, but he's such a name that he does make money doing this for like the next couple of years.
And see, the thing is, the major league teams that he joins are teams not very good.
Yes.
That need people. So by 51, he joins the St. Louis Browns, who I think maybe 4 years later moved to Baltimore. Browns moved to Baltimore? That sounds strange. For baseball?
Yeah.
July 18th, 1950. The reason he does is Veeck owns a pretty large stake in the team.
Yeah, St. Louis.
He goes 6 shutout innings, and 3 and 4 that year with a 4.79 ERA. But you have to understand, the man is 45 years old.
Yep.
God. And you know, in 1952, who his manager is for the Browns? Someone we did an episode on.
Hornsby, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because he was a manager for like half of a season.
Yeah.
And he was like actually using him, and then they fired him, and then the new coach came in and was like, no, we're going to keep using him. So he pitched like 25 games that year.
Which is absolutely insane.
At 45.
12-10 with a 3.07 ERA at 45. And say what you will about Rogers Hornsby, he seems to understand baseball.
Yes.
So
well, this was something that they said. They were like, he was always kind of like a renowned racist, or really someone that was like, we should not integrate the game.
Yeah.
And then he had Satchel as his pitcher, and he was like, well, I mean, I'm going to use him as much as I can. He's the best pitcher I have. I don't care about this at that point. I want to win.
We already let him in, Chris.
Yeah, exactly.
That was probably what he thought. Well, if he's already on the team,
he's already on
play
the team.
him.
Yeah, fuck it.
He was an all-star that year, actually.
Yeah.
But he didn't get in the game, I believe, due to a rainout. So Casey Stengel did him a solid the next year, even though he had a crappy season. And
still let him in.
Let him in 50, which I think is nice.
I do think that's cool.
Because it's like, man, you probably would have been in the 39 all-star game. So he goes back to barnstorming for a pretty significant amount of time.
Yeah.
1955, he's at the Greensboro Patriots of the Carolina League. Unfortunately, Tim Robbins' grandma is not of the age of consent.
No.
So, but he doesn't need her help, Chris.
No, that's the thing. He doesn't need her help for his control or anything like that. Rose goes in the front, big guy.
That's right. So 56, Veeck buys the AAA Miami Marlins of the International League for the Phillies. Gets $15,000. So he's playing for the love of the game, but he's also playing to eat at this point. Like, I'm sure if he wasn't, such a drunk, Grover Cleveland Alexander probably would have done this. Goes 11-4. 50 years old. I mean, granted, these are minor leaguers, but it's still a step below the Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
Sub 2 ERA. 57. He's with Miami again after Vex sells them. 58 as well. 59. He's playing in Cuba, which is interesting because I don't think Batista's in charge after that.
So it's very, yes. He goes where the money is.
Which I think at that point you have to.
Yeah.
If, you got to keep food on the table. 61, he's with Portland in AAA. Pitches 25 innings. And then in 1965, owner Charles O'Finley of the Kansas City Athletics says, I need people.
I need
at
one.
My game.
Yes, I need you to show up for one game just to bring people in.
So September 25th, 1965, they're playing Boston, which, the sweet irony, the Red Sox were the last team to integrate. They also brought out a lot of Negro League stars in the past, guys we'll probably end up talking about on this podcast in this block, to basically, before the game, to be like, hey, our bad. Our bad. Sorry.
Yes, pretty much. Just being like, yeah, aren't these guys great?
Weren't these guys Remember when we didn't give them a chance to play?
Not one chance.
Not one. No, there was a gentleman's agreement.
That's right.
Student athletes. They put a rocking chair in the bullpen, as you said before, for him. And a nurse would bring him coffee between the innings.
Yep.
Comes in late in the fourth, or left in the fourth, no runs. Almost 10,000 people gave him a standing ovation while the old gray mare played him out, which, 59 years old,
I know.
still in baseball. I think that's what makes me so mad about this one is he pitched for so long that what if he had his chance at 19?
In his prime, yes.
20.
Yes.
25. 45.
I mean, he still did it when he was in 48 or whatever when Cleveland won, but still it's like it's such a ridiculous thing how long he pitched. I imagine he's still out there pitching.
He's pitching in wherever you go.
Exactly.
When you're gone. And then by 66, he plays some semi-pro ball, but that pretty much signals the end of it.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if you asked any baseball player, granted, you want to play most of your career in the major leagues, but if you could play till you were 60, would you?
Yeah.
All of them would say yes.
Yep.
Regardless if they had the same situation or not, just because, they love baseball. But he was transcendent. I mean, even when he wasn't allowed to play in Major League Baseball, he was a draw for baseball fans.
Yes.
It was like mythical, like everywhere he went. 70,000 people to watch a guy at an age that would be 10 years past retired pitch in a baseball game.
And he brought
do good.
Yeah. And he brought baseball to so many places that didn't have it. It just spread the, awareness of good baseball. Because I imagine they watched their farm teams or whatever, those like little tiny teams, but like he literally brought like major league players around in the off seasons, every off season. And he even took it to a bunch of, like Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Cuba. He almost died. Mexico. He almost died for that shit. It was awesome.
So let's see where we got. He tried to stay on for long. I don't know if you read anything about his pension.
No.
Where he kind of signed on with the Braves to be an assistant trainer.
Yeah.
And then MLB enacted a rule that it was like, no. Let's just give the man his pension.
Yes.
Like if you played in your last game before that, they were just like, yeah, we fucked up. Let's just give you your pension because you deserved it.
Yep.
I mean, you would have played 30 years in this league. Thereabouts. He was a pitching coach in the minors in 1973. But before that, he was named to the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
One of, when Bowie Kuhn became the new commissioner, he was the first Negro Leaguer in the Hall of Fame, which I think
Well deserved.
Well deserved.
Yeah, best Negro League pitcher, and just the longest career out of anybody ever.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. Died of a heart attack, June 8th, 1982. So he lived a long life for someone that lived as hard as that he did.
Yep.
And not like hard like Grover Cleveland Alexander hard,
No,
but
but
just that travel's got to destroy you, right?
Yep, hard working every single, like literally 365 days of the year.
Yep, an icon. Satchel Paige.